Hey friends, it's Rick Evans here with Seeking Christ Ministry, and we have another Seeking Christ teachings for you guys today. Um, we are on Revelation, the book of Revelation. This is basically the understanding of the book of Revelation. It's a study guide for you guys. This is part 6. We are on chapter 8. We're going to get into the trumpets, at least the first 4 tonight. We'll finish them off next week. So this one should be pretty quick. I did tell you guys I was going to give you a timeline. I forgot to put that one into this one, so I make sure I have it in for next week, and it is in for last week, so you can kind of get an idea. So we're going to have some slides, not as many as we usually do, but we'll get into this. So let's switch over if this will work. All right. So Revelation chapter 8 starts out. When he opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about a half hour. And I saw the 7 angels who stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. Then another angel having a golden censer came and stood at the altar. He was given much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense with the prayers of the saints ascended before God from the angel's hand. Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and threw it to the earth. And there were noises, thunderings, lightnings, and an earthquake. So the 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. Um, we see here one thing is they were giving the angels were given the golden censer and they prepared the incense, but they did not add the prayers. The prayers came up from the incense. So that's one thing that we can see from there. I have 2 slides, one for Torrance, and he says, significantly, the prayers of God's people set in motion the coming consummation of history, more potent, more powerful than all the dark and mighty powers let loose in the world, more powerful than anything else, is the power of prayer set ablaze by the fire of God and cast upon the earth. Also, Clark writes this: it is not said that the angel presents these prayers. He presents the incense and the prayers ascend with it. The ascending of the incense shows that the prayers and offering were accepted. So as we wait for the 7 seals to be open and saw them pretty much open one by one, then we get to that 7th seal. And as it was finally loosened, the end did not immediately come. It set in motion 7 trumpets that would sound upon the earth. In the Old Testament, trumpets sounded for alarm for war and through basically to throw the enemy in a panic, or they were called to assemble God's people. These 7 trumpets will sound as God's battle alarm during the tribulation. Let's move on. Verse 7, the first angel sounded, and hail and fire followed, mingled with blood, and they were thrown to the earth. And a third of the trees were burned up, and all green grass was burned up. So already we getting into it. We got hail and fire mingled with blood, and it says it's thrown down. So when we read the Bible, we gotta make sure that we're understanding what's being taken place and not just try to throw things out. Hey, this is this is that. We gotta make sure this was thrown down. Yes, John is trying to give us a vision of what he's seen, but what he's seen was it was being thrown down from the heavens. One thing we can take is that God is doing this, and whatever it is that's coming down is coming from that way. Continue on. Then a second angel sounded, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood, and a third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. We'll just kind of keep going. Then the third angel sounded, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is wormwood. A third of the waters became wormwood, and many men died from the water because it was made bitter. All right, so John's referencing this as a star. We can think of what it is. It's definitely coming from above. Some people believe it's a meteor or something another. It could be a star. It could be a lot of different things. We're not going to speculate what's happening there. But if we go back, this is one thing that we can understand. If we go back to Exodus chapter 15, we see that the Israelites were traveling through the wilderness, no water. They come to a source of water, but basically discovered it was bitter. And they called it Marah, or bitter. In order to fix the situation, the Lord directed Moses to cast a nearby tree into the water, whereupon the water became sweet. And it's kind of interesting because it's a tree that makes the water sweet. The tree is always a picture of the cross. So when you add the cross to bitter water in our own life, the result becomes sweet. In this passage, however, it's just the opposite. Because those who reject Christ during this time and his work on the cross will drink the bitter water of the tribulation. So let's continue. Then the fourth angel sounded, and a third of the sun was struck, and a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them were darkened, a third of the day did not shine, and likewise the night. And I looked and I heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, 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 to the inhabitants of the earth, because of the remaining blast of the trumpets of the three angels who are about to sound. Now, I know that translation on I heard an angel flying sometimes can be used, and it's almost a resemblance of the word used for eagle. It's not the exact spelling, so I would have to throw that out. But I know a lot of people will put eagle in there. So there was an eagle flying and talking and this and that. But the spelling is close, but it's not exact, so I think we have to eliminate that. So the worst is yet to come, because the last three trumpets are worse than the first four, basically. As we see in chapter 9, the next three trumpets to blast a judgment upon the earth are much more devastating than the first four. The first four trumpets dealt with the natural aspect of things, nature. The last three are going to be supernatural, mostly demonic activity. And a lot of people ask, how does this happen? And many wonder if it would happen through like a phenomenon that we know of today, like nuclear war, pollution, meteors, so forth and so on. We can speculate all kind of different things that we want to, but we have to make sure that we're keeping the Bible together and understand that all these things are being brought down from heaven. God is in control. God brings judgment. He isn't to pass a bystander. This is not nature taking its course. God may use whatever method he desires to bring the judgment, but people on the earth know that these judgments are from God. That's point blank. And do not think that they're merely just nature taking course or disasters or whatever. The proportion of ecological disaster stays the same in each one of these trumpets. A third of the ecosystem is destroyed in judgment. What we get to is the angels' woes were well founded, because 1/3 of Earth's population will die in the next three trumpets. We had a third of the ecosystem destroyed, and last three, it's going to be a third of people dying. The first four trumpets can look at being like revealed as God's mercy. Because these partial judgments, striking only 1/3, and are meant to warn and lead a rebellious people back to repentance before God. And that's before God pretty much takes off with the bowls of wrath. In this one, we see that God spares more than he smites. And that's basically all I have for you guys on this week. I told you it was going to be a short one. We'll get into next week. I try to not make these too long. I try to keep them pretty short so your attention span don't go too far, and it's pretty much you get enough info in. And a lot of these things we're not going to speculate. We're just going to give us what the Bible tells us and set it straight. And this is to help you guide through as you're studying Revelation. Until next week, thank you for watching. Subscribe to our channel. And have a blessed week. Until next week, love y'all. God bless.